Astro, important victory today. Also won against an opponent that, I mean, is on and off, but didn't play bad today. So in your mind, how did this turn out? Or what does it say towards the next matches coming up?
I think it gives us a lot of confidence, of course, off a 3-0 against Shanghai, and then a 3-1 against Hangzhou, where we barely lose our one map, and it's not because of anything, it's just we second guess ourselves. And we want to play Shockwave on map 4. But yeah, we have that gives us so much confidence, especially coming from a week where we lost our last 2 matches, having a nice long break, mental reset, practice, get to know the new meta. I think we're, of course, very happy with the hero bans, although at first it looked really bad for us with Echo, Ashe, and Lucio being banned, which are 3 of our best heroes for some of our players. But yeah, I think it's just a crazy confidence booster.
For sure. And we'll get to the bans in a moment, but you talked about Shockwave, and we saw you after the match, you had a little bit of banter going on or something on the camera. We of course couldn't hear it. So what were you guys talking about?
I think it was just the first kill. That's a crazy entrance for your debut, right? You get subbed in your first map, you just walk out of spawn on Widow and instantly just one shot the other Widow. That's kind of making a statement,
Yeah, for sure. Even though I would say I think there was one EMP in there where it was did he fat finger it or something? I think he missed it on. He wanted to, I believe, hit Gushui on point A, going up.
First point attack.
Yeah. Was there?
I'm not really sure what happened. I'm standing in our backline as Brig, so I don't really get to see much of the action. I'm just staring at enemy Winston and Tracer, please don't kill me. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was nerves, or I think we had a very messy shot calling on our first point attack. Maybe it kind of threw our rhythm off because we've been playing with EQO Sombra before, and it's very different. Playing with different Sombra players, the amount that they talk and how they call around their own EMPs is completely different. So maybe that was it. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe they just outplayed us.
Possible, yeah. No. To be honest, you talked about being in the backline as Brig. To me, that didn't seem to be a given. I almost when Roston told me, okay, you're interviewing Astro, I'm okay, he's giving me the player that's not going to play because his signature hero was banned out and Tobi was also playing pretty well. So how did that work out for you that you then aren't still the starter and also performing very well on Brig now?
Pretty much, I had 6 months stuck in England with no visa, and I made it my goal to finally get good at Brig. It had been so frustrating last year, and obviously it's such a solid meta hero at the moment, where it's pretty much a must pick. You have to be able to play Brig if you're a main support now. It's no longer just Lucio Mercy. It's pretty much 90% Brig playtime at the moment. Even before Lucio was banned, it was the same. So I had a lot of time to practice Brig, getting coached a lot on it all the time, working really hard, grinding ranked. I mean, Korean ranked is amazing because they pick the meta every single map. Every single game you queue for, even at the moment when there's hero bans, people don't pick the hero ban heroes because everyone is practicing for Overwatch League. So it's just incredible practice. You can't ask for more than that. So I've been working hard, playing ranked, always looking to see what I can improve on, watching other good Brigs and sort of taking notes here and there. Just a lot of time put into it, but I think I'm finally getting to the point where I'm confident and comfortable on the hero.
But then what's the process like? So you get to Korea, I assume either 9K has you in his plans and says, okay, we're playing him, we want him for playoffs, especially when Lucio comes in, or you have to scrim for that. So how did that process go that you started over Tobi?
So pretty much after I came out of quarantine, I was pretty rusty because I hadn't played on a good setup. I was stuck in the quarantine laptop for 2 weeks, and I was splitting playtime for 50-50. It was pretty much just straight down the middle. We had an even number of maps. To be honest, I don't really ask much about playtime. Whatever the coaches choose to do, I'm not going to question it. Of course, I just always try and play my best, and then whatever happens, happens is my perspective on it. So I can't really comment on how I'm getting played or what's going on because I don't know. All I do is just show up to scrims, try my hardest, and then it seems to be working.
Right. Is that the same process, pretty much like splitting scrims with for the other guys as well, for Poco and Shockwave?
I mean, with Poco's not here at the moment,
Right.
but Shockwave kind of had the same thing where he came out of quarantine really rusty, so we gave him a lot of time to play ranked and to work and practice, so he get a bit of the rust off after quarantine. And yeah, I think we've just been subbing him in maps here and there in scrims, getting some practice in. He's been doing well. I think he's working really hard. But yeah, I have no I have no idea how playtime's decided, to be honest.
Right. Now, I mean, you must have felt away when these bans came out, right? Like your signature hero was banned out. Then again, you just talked about like having pretty much put yourself into like Brig camp, if you want, just practicing in, the entire time while you couldn't participate with the team. So what was your mood or like your emotion seeing these bans come in?
I was actually pretty happy with it. Probably people aren't going to believe that, but I think from a public perception standpoint, a lot of people, because of how I was a lot worse on other heroes last year, a lot of people still see me as someone who is just Lucio main, Lucio one trick, can't do other stuff. And of course, after working hard, like it hurts for people to still think that. And I want to prove myself on other heroes. So it's like the perfect opportunity for me. Like I can really show what I can do on Brig now and show that I'm not just a Lucio one trick.
For sure. Now, part of your practice was also playing in contenders. Now, in hindsight, how much do you think that helped?
Absolutely 0%. Maybe, I mean, it was a good idea. It was a good idea going into it. I mean, in theory, of course, we wanted to practice. We wanted good practice. We had no clue when we were going to get visas. That was the problem. So we could have ended up playing not just trials, but the whole contender season and not having visas. And then we could have had the situation which we did where we just played trials, or we could have left like halfway through trials. So I think for me personally, I just wanted something to kind of give me motivation because I'd been stuck in England so long. And just as a professional player, like it almost been a year since I'd played in a competitive tournament. And I was kind of losing my drive a bit. And it's hard to play EU ranked every single day when it feels like you're working towards nothing. You have no news on a visa. Like it's really depressing. And I think Contenders Trials gave me personally a lot of motivation. Even though it was a really easy tournament, it was like a reason to wake up and play ranked and work hard.
Right. Is that down to the European region currently being sort of weaker, and are maybe Korean contenders teams currently a bit better way to practice against?
Oh, Korean contenders teams are nuts. EU contenders teams are not so good, but there are like one or two which you could scrim, and it was genuine good practice. But I mean, Korean contenders, every single time I've come to Korea, it's like my third or fourth time here now. Every single time you scrim the contenders teams, and honestly, some of them are better than half the AL teams. Like it's really crazy. It's so consistent as well. Every time I come here, they're insanely good practice. But EU is completely different, it would seem.
Right. Now, you're no stranger to travels, as we talked about, but of course, the season playoffs and finals will once again be in North America. Is that going to be troublesome for you guys? Because like you last year, you already also experienced what it's like relocating for the playoffs, right? Is that a genuine disadvantage most of the time?
I think it was more of a disadvantage last year because of the quarantine we had to do, which was like a real killer. Like 2 weeks of quarantine is not good. It's a really strain on your mental when you're already stressed about the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing you want to focus on. So if we don't have to do a quarantine when we go to America, which I think you don't at the moment, I could be wrong. If we don't have to do a quarantine, I think it will not change much. Of course, there's a little bit of jet lag, but I mean, what can you do? Someone's going to take a hit. It's only a small difference. It'll maybe be like 1 or 2 days less practice.
Yeah. Now, looking ahead in the short term, I mean, theoretically speaking, if we look at the table, it's still possible for you guys to get into second place, which would be a direct qualification for season playoffs. What you would have to do is win against New York, win against Seoul, and also probably get a tournament point as well, while then hopefully denying Seoul the ability to do so. So, I mean, you guys playing New York seems to be a special case. Do you guys have a better idea what it takes to beat them now? Also, that they've now beaten the Dragons as well.
I think we haven't really reviewed it much. Obviously, we've been preparing hard for these 2 weeks or these 2 games, but I think just watching the New York game, like they have weaknesses. They have probably a couple of things which you can exploit, and a couple of places where they're not as strong as we are. I mean, strategy-wise, we're really confident and comfortable with how we're playing, and I think we're kind of a little bit ahead of everyone else in APAC. Dare I say it right now?
Interesting, yeah. There's a big discussion, seemingly, especially seeing the NA matches, where a lot of teams seem to have lost their confidence in Winston and are trying to force the ball now. Now we're looking at New York. They just beat it, like Shanghai, almost exclusively playing Winston, or at least a ton. Like, where do you fall on that debate? Should the NA team switch and play ball, or what is the best approach for them?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what our coaches think, but personally, I think Winston sucks. I think he's just pretty garbage right now, in my opinion.
Right.
As a Brig player, it's so much easier to counter Winston than it is to counter Ball. Like, Ball is just an absolute nuisance. He's so hard to kill. He's got so much mobility. He's got pretty much no downtime, you know? Like, he can just swing around, do whatever he wants, like, fly in there, fly in here. He's doing all sorts of different things. And Winston is such a one-dimensional style where you have, like, you jump in, and it's either a soft jump or a hard dive. And both ways, you just counter it. And the counter is exactly the same both times. So I think Ball is stronger just because it's less one-dimensional, and you can do a lot of different things. Like, there's so many different plays you can make.
Right. Is that good for Overwatch, or is that something where the devs should maybe put it onto an experimental card, see how it plays, and then even deploy it for season playoffs to maybe give Winston some buffs to make him competitive again?
I think it's fine as long as it's more of a skill cap difference. I think just it's one of these scenarios where the skill cap for the Ball is so high, and people are finally starting to get there. It's been like, I don't know how many years since he came out, but people are only just playing Ball, even though he's been like ridiculously strong this whole time, because he's just so difficult. Like I say, with the amount of different ways you can play him, it's so hard to pick the right decision every time. Whereas Winston, it's a lot easier, and the hero's been out and meta for a long time. So, I mean, everyone knows what they're doing when they play those comps.
Do you think the NA teams can play catch up of these several years of Ball, also tech and strategy, and do it within a stage and be competitive at playoffs?
I think some of the teams have good Ball players, some of them don't. I think for some teams, maybe like Mayhem especially, where you've just got someone who's just started playing main tank. I doubt Checkmate knows a lot about Bull Tech and all the different things he can do.
Right.
So it's going to be hard for them to catch up for some players, but I think a lot of people have been grinding Bull and playing on the secret Smurf accounts in NA ranked, just one-tricking Bull and learning everything they can.
Right. Do you think in that sense it's actually an advantage to be able to practice against the Eastern region at the moment, that you guys are in this region that A, has Ball players, also pretty good Sombra players, which seems to be shaping up to be the playoff meta?
I mean, if it's the playoff meta, it would be great. But it's hard to predict. You know, they always love to throw in a last-minute patch that changes everything. But yeah, I think Eastern region is definitely better to be scrimming against right now. Especially like what we said about the contenders teams. They're so good at Ball. Some of them have like really insane Ball players. And I really doubt America has that. Like, there's so many different styles that you get to scrim against in Asia, and America just doesn't seem to have it at the moment.
Would you like to highlight any of those either teams, contenders teams that are good, or ball players that are great?
I think it's Junbin, who is absolutely nuts, and I think there was another one like Kellen or something in Korean Contenders. I could be wrong, but those are the two names that I seem to remember. Of just like playing Brig and they're just flying around my screen. I have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, there's definitely some really insane ball players out here.
Right. Now you guys are, I mean, you're not safe in at least play-in qualification, but you're looking pretty good, especially with those results this week. Now, the thing is, theoretically speaking, participating in Countdown Cup, if you can't make top 2, which you guys still can, of course, but it would be an advantage to get a head start in terms of practicing on the extra meta without the hero bans if you guys were to miss the Countdown Cup. So are you more concerned with the meta right now, or are you going to give it your all during Countdown Cup?
I think we just want to win Countdown Cup, because if we win, we skip play-ins completely, and then that gives us the most time to prepare, right?
Very true, yeah.
So that would be the best scenario. So I think we're 100% going for it this month, giving it everything we've got.
Sweet. Then we wish you good luck with that, and thank you for the interview.
Thanks.